A cut price, Severn Crossing, a new railway line for the southwest, and a cut in cider taxes. The Chancellor's pre-election budget was clearly handwritten with the West Country in mind.
Of course it was. Of course we'll all be affected by the national changes to tax, savings and spending. But there were a few special measures just for us in the West. Our business correspondent Dave Harvey has spent the day at a business park in Swindon. Dave, what do you think? Are we richer or poorer tonight?
Tell you what, David, it depends if you're a cider maker, as you were saying, those people with a small smile perhaps playing across their lips tonight. Tell you what, they're not all just in Somerset either, no. I met one in Swindon of all places, would you believe, today. More of that later. First, the other West Country budget details. And first, as you mentioned, it's got a little bit cheaper to get to Wales. The Severn Crossing will be £5.40, importantly for cars and vans in a couple of years' time if George Osborne is returned to power. Now that's a £7 saving for commercial van drivers. Obviously quite a big deal for them. A lot of talk here in Wiltshire about the military charities, which will benefit by the tune of £75 million. That's money the Chancellor earmarked today for work with campaign victims and veterans from the Afghanistan campaign. And finally, a rather subtle but significant, I think, change to the tax laws for our thousands of West Country farmers. They obviously have a very volatile up and down trade and business, and in future they'll be able to do their tax returns over a rolling 5-year period. Again, a bit of a quiet hurrah perhaps from the countryside. Now, as you say, I spent today here in an urban business centre. This is going to be a budget absolutely dominated and written through with politics before the election. But everybody here just wants to know one thing. What's in it for me? Was it a budget for the ballet shoe trade? Or maybe just point scoring? And what's in it for double glazing salesmen? You can find every kind of company on the Base Point Business Park. 98 firms, 400 jobs, the famous hard-working families that politicians just love to support.
We have a plan that is working, and this budget works for you.
At lunchtime, they paused for some politics. He said it was a budget for business. Well, chancellors always do. And a cut in corporation tax coming in 2 weeks. That went down well, as did abolishing national insurance altogether for staff under 21.
I'm sure lots of employers will now look at taking on youngsters, apprenticeships, where they can obviously get the national insurance incentives to bring people in.
The tax allowance, really, off the top of my head, and the reform of the business rates.
So do you feel slightly better off, slightly worse off?
No, I do think they're trying to create a situation where there's more money in our pocket at the end of the month.
The devil is always in the detail, though, and Mr Osborne hasn't yet got the ballet shoe vote in his ballot box. Not, that is, until they've checked the small print.
What I need to do is actually sit down and see what he's actually doing and digest it. It's all...
There's always little catches, sort of, oh, I'm going to do this, but you have to meet this requirement.
And then there was this.
Also cutting cider duty by 2% to support our producers in the West Country and elsewhere, and to back one of the UK's biggest...
And wouldn't you know it, pick a dozen West Country firms at random. One of them is usually a cider maker.
OK, this is Roundabout, so this is made from local apples, and believe it or not, from Swindon, hence the name Roundabout. Yeah, 2% off alcohol duty, or in particular cider, is an absolute godsend for me, because just moved into this unit, registered for alcohol duty, and 2% is fantastic, really. It's 2% saving, which is great.
Who'd have thought it? Cider from Swindon. Let's have a chat with a couple of people who really know the West Country business and money scene. First of all, Phil Smith from Business West. Lots of small and medium sort of announcements, but in a way, no big surprises.
Yes, I think the Chancellor pulled off a pretty clever three-card trick this afternoon. I think he touched on the three things that business might hope for: fiscal responsibility, some investment and growth, those sort of kind of messages, and also no surprises. And after all, business like no surprises.
You don't like big surprises, but do you think this is the sort of thing that businesses will like, all the kind of announcements that were in there?
Yeah, broadly, I'm sure they're generally positive with what was said today.
OK, lots of talk about how small businesses and indeed people on very low incomes are going to survive on this. Sarah Carter, you work for Citizens Advice Bureau. As far as the Chancellor's concerned, really, that's all behind us now. Incomes are rising, inflation's under control, he's giving people money back in taxes.
Yeah, I think the difficulty is that people have had sort of 6 to 7 years of low income. They're really struggling to try and make ends meet with different things. Prices may have come down a little bit for food and fuel, but actually they haven't got any savings. The kind of big things that people come to us about: water debt, council tax debt, and also fuel. And so they haven't got anywhere else to go. So a lot of working families come to us, so they're finding it really difficult. And if you get more in a tax credit, you know, extra sort of money, low income, then you're going to be actually some of that you may lose in your benefits.
OK, Sarah, thanks very much. So there you are, guys, a mixed picture. And as Sarah just said, still plenty of work to do before everyone's feeling the benefits of this undoubted recovery.